väga huvitav ettekanne ja inspireerivad visioonid ja liikuvuse ja avaliku ruumi seisukohast samuti. Nutikas linn ja Tallinna Sadam on nutikas sadam ja tark sadam. Ma olin hiljuti Norras ühel üritusel, Nordic Sustainable Cities, ja siis see on korraldatud Põhjamaade ministrite nõukogu käepikenduse Nordic Innovationi poolt. Ja see on üks suur lipulaeva projekt, mille eesmärk on eksportida Põhjala linnu. Nad on teinud ära suure töö selles osas, et kuidas kaardistada seda, mis on üldse Põhjala linn, mingisugune tüpaaž, mis paneb selle käima. Palju rohealasid, hea liikuvus, ligipääsetavus, säärased asjad, väga lühidalt öeldes. Ja siis nad on pannud selle süsteemi ja paika ja siis teinud sellest tööriista, mille abil saaksid Põhjala linnad, ettevõtted, planeerijad, arhitektid, MTÜ-d eksportida neid lahendusi. Näiteks Ameerikas, Hiinas ja Indias. Ja siis oli seal üks huvitav ettekanne Anne Stenruusi poolt. Anne Stenruus on Helsingi linna Chief Design Officer on tema tiitel. Ja tema ütles, et nutikad linnad ja targad linnad on nii eilne päev. Ja umbes täpselt ta niimoodi ennast väljendaski, et it's so passé, ütles ta. Et mis on nüüd tänapäeval tähtis ja see uus asi on kognitiivsed linnad. Emotsionaalne intelligentsus, emotsionaalne tarkus. Ja siis tema iva oli siis jah selles, et kui targad linnad ja lahendused on kahtlemata see õige asi, siis ei peaks seda käsitlema niivõrd tehnoloogia keskselt võib-olla, kuivõrd vaatame seda asja suuremast inimkesksemast kasutajakogemuse perspektiivist, mis tõttu tema siis mängis selle ideega, et kognitiivsed linnad, cognitive cities on järgmine asi, mille peale mõelda. Ma teeksin ise hea meelega ka ühe ettekande, sest mul seda paluti teha. Palun vabandage, ma teeksin seda inglise keeles, sest ma valmistasin selle inglise keeles ette ja mu vaene pea ei suuda seda kõik ümber protsessida piisavalt kiiresti. Seega, et säästa teie kõigi aega, ma hea meelega räägiksin selle kiiresti inglise keeles läbi. Good news for you that don't speak Estonian, I will be talking in English because I've prepared this in English. Because usually we at our company, Future Place Leadership, we're a Stockholm-based consultancy, we work in the Nordics internationally with the attractiveness of places, meaning several things. Among them, so I'm a management consultant, I should say that directly. I'm not an architect or anything like that. So we work with the attractiveness of places. What do I mean by that and how is it relevant here today? From a management point of view, whether you think about Harbour area or a city, you have the innovation to create, say, a new physical environment. You need to have leadership that takes all the different components there together, the smart city solutions, the harbor, the city, the businesses, architects, everybody. Events like these here today to keep people informed and collect their input. And you need to have marketing at one point as well, because events like this, new city, brownfield or greenfield investments like this create new reputation, new brand for the harbor and for the city. So you need to have the marketing thing there as well. So it all comes together perhaps in a term called place branding. It should be a simple thing to understand, but it's often overloaded with different meanings. It's not about marketing. Branding is not about marketing. Every place has a brand. If you think about whatever place, Helsinki, Berlin, Finland, whatever places you have an association. You like that place or you don't like that place. People there are stupid or the products there are very nice. You have your own set of associations about a product or a place. Whether that is true or not doesn't play a role. The important thing is that if you at a place want to drive this narrative about yourself, you need to have a strategic process. You need to do branding towards achieving this aim, which is a long and painful democratic process, often involving focus groups and events like these to gather input from people, which is essential if you want to do place branding. Why is it essential? let's think about what Charles Landry, a renowned urbanist, has said, that 15 years ago, 80% of the people wanted to go and work for a company, whereas now more and more people want to go to a city before they choose a company. The city, the context, the place matters. You want to go to a cool place, and you get to define what the word cool means. What is an attractive city? Whether you want to have lots of startups, a thriving health tech, green tech scene, whether it's besides the sea or a mountain, the supply of great cities is increasing. The marketing is increasing. More and more options are there for people to choose a great place to visit, to invest, to go and work at. More and more people think about the whole place value proposition as a whole. I want to go and live somewhere where I like, where I can bicycle or whatever you would like to do. The jobs are important as well, but the reputation matters more and more. And you see this reflecting in the global and European competition. Now, what does this mean practically? Take the case of Gothenburg in Sweden, the second largest city in Sweden. That was a really worn down former industrial area. Nobody wanted to go there really, and it was sort of, industrial area. It has Volvo, Volvo Group, AstraZeneca, lots of industries and high-tech industries where you need engineers today. Nobody wanted to go that more any longer because they had problems, various sorts of problems. So they wanted to build their reputation and become more attractive. Not only do you need to have a website that looks nice, yes, that's the surface. Obviously, you need to look nice and all of that. But there's infrastructure behind that effort. You need to have services if your aim is to attract more international talent. If you want to have more engineers there, for example, or programmers. So you have a step-by-step guide. If you want to relocate to a foreign place, Gothenburg, what is that? Why go there? What does it offer to me, to my family? You need to have spouses, your partners, their well-being, social networks. All of these things need to be looked at and serviced, which is a management thing. There's an organization that does this. And there are other organizations that all have a stake in this. So that is what, in practice, branding a place or increasing the attractiveness of a place looks like if we take talent attraction, for example. Now, if you think about a reputation, Tallinn Harbour and the city itself that will, of course, benefit from having Zaha Hadid Architects here as a global name to do this master plan. So you always have, if you look at a place context, what is the reputation, what is the point you have? Is it visibility, that nobody knows about you and you want to be recognized and actually appear on the map to begin with? Building trust, reputation, or is it identity? You always need to have this rooted, whatever your aim here is, you need to have this rooted in the local stakeholders, the businesses, the people, the local government, etc. Again, an event like this here today, everybody is interested in how the harbor will look like in the future. Everybody's touched by this. This is their home city. This is their playing field. This is where they do business. So obviously, it is about identity as well. How do you do that? How do you involve people? So all of these various things play a role when you start thinking about how do you build your reputation? What is the point, whether for a city or for a harbor, to do that? As an example, we can take the neighbor country here, Finland. Do we have people here from Finland? Hey, welcome. You'll like this slide, maybe not the next one. We are neighbors after all. So this here is a vision for the country of Finland by the then Prime Minister Alexander Stubb, who put up a committee consisting of private and public bosses, corporate bosses, and they involved a think tank, Demos, to come up with a mission statement for the country of Finland, which was that if you think about Finland, Again, think about the associations you may have about that. We as neighbors, we have a different thing. But you, what do you think about Finland? Perhaps the stereotype goes at least that it's some cold, dark place where nobody wants to go. The people are quiet. An extrovert, you know the joke? This applies both to Estonians and Finns. The introvert Finn is the person who, while talking at you, is looking at his or her toes. And the extrovert Finn is the person who is looking at your toes while they're talking to you. So there's sort of a place. So what do you do with that? So you take that reputation, what you have anyway, and you then come up with a plan combining that with the existing strengths of the country, the industry, the clean tech sector that they have there. So Finland will be the world's problem solver by the year 2030. So a nation that is all work and no play, no bullshit. They will solve your problems. They will come and fix whatever environmental challenge you may have. They're that type of people. So combining the strengths, weaknesses, and the reputation that you have out there, whether that's true or not, people probably make eye contact. So that's an example of these previous slides that I was trying to get across with. An easy example still is also from Finland. Now, if you don't understand what this word means, that's perfectly all right. But it means the feeling when you're going to get drunk home alone in your underwear with no intention of going out. So that is the word kalsarikännit in Finnish. The picture is illustrating that word. So this is an official emoji of the government of Finland, by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So this was a award-winning social media campaign that they did. So they produced other emojis as well. You can see a baby seal, a Midsummer's Eve, so all things Finnish you can then use for fun when you have your conversations. You can do this sort of nice and funny stuff. So okay, it's not about marketing. It has marketing things in it when you talk about place branding. It's about reputation, but it's more about a strategic process and involving people in the big change that you are going to make, whether it's a harbor area or just driving the reputation of a country. Now, placemaking is something that relates more to this thing. Placemaking would be then the architecture, the buildings, but also the social side, the people side, making a place come alive. Now, I told you that I'm not an architect, and I do not want to insult your intelligence, but a few examples, if I may. Everybody knows about the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, the Guggenheim effect. They built a museum, and the whole region took off. Everybody's talking about it, it flourished, tourists going there, not only for the museum, but the entire city has somehow revamped itself. Nobody knows what the secret still is, but many cities have tried to copy this. Build a museum and they will come. Or build a landmark and they will come. Helsinki, again, recently declined a Guggenheim Museum, but that was politics, because there was lots of public money involved, and True Finns were the party, perhaps a bit very far right-leaning party who told that they will have no such international thing, and they withdrew the money, and so that didn't happen or won't happen. But Lens in France has a Louvre museum there. It's a great place, but the effect on the local community is minimum. Even The Guardian has taken this up, that there has never been such extreme contrast between the majesty of the art and the humbleness of the location. And the context was that nothing is happening in the city. People come there, it's a beautiful place, but they don't stay there for night, for drinks, for restaurants, anything. It hasn't had a spillover effect to the community. However, Mona in Australia has had this for some strange reason. It's a private initiative, and they built a very exciting and interesting new museum, But the location itself, Hobart, got to enjoy the benefits of that. Not only tourists coming in, but cafes and things opening up. So people make use of the flow of people to the place. Even Lonely Planet had this on its top 10 cities recommendation list on number 7 in 2013. So it made the news. It had an effect. And there are other examples as well from Seattle, a museum of pop music or something, a very shiny, nice, great building, but local people don't really go there because it hasn't managed again to involve the community, to play a role there. People regard it as something alien or simply it doesn't connect to them. A positive example and a simple one about placemaking and how to make a good public place comes from the Netherlands, from Rotterdam, Schofburgplein, which was a square as any. People would just walk through it, nothing happened. The weather was, well, Dutch like today, raining, so why do you can't go there to read a book every day and enjoy the sun? But there was a company, Stipo, an architecture, land architecture company that came upon an idea, contacted the city administration and said, look, we'll program the square for you. We'll program it. What do you mean? Well, we're thinking about simple stuff. We want to get more people there, right? Yes. How do you do that? Well, let's start with furniture. Let's put chairs there. Nice ones as well, because we're all about good design here in the Netherlands. And let's make it fun and interactive. Children can play, people can sit down, you can rest there if nothing else. And it took off. Now they have counted that it has 2.5 million visitors a year. So people going there and staying there instead of just walking through it. Events held there because now it's a hot place to go to. Companies are showcasing their stuff as well. Some smart city solutions, they wanted to solar panels. They wanted to put on the walls as well there in that area to showcase that to the people and hold events again. So you can have a place that is completely devoid of life and then bring life to it by some simple means. In Australia, they did a similar experiment. This was on Architecture Daily, an underused central public square, a small one, and they did a simple 8-day experiment where they, again, what could they use? Furniture, colorful stuff, painted the ground with crayons, put some clothing on the trees, lighting in the trees, and books, bookshelves, Wi-Fi, agreed with the local library that you can download and borrow books online, but just on that central square area. So you had stuff to do. You had reason to stop there. More people stopped there. They measured it. It's a simple thing to measure with the technology we have here today. So placemaking, having people using a place is completely possible and doable, and more places do it. Not only in sunny and warm Australia, but in rainy Netherlands and in the Nordic countries as well. Why do this? Why should a private company like Tallinn Harbour do all of this? What's the point? Well, you want to be contemporary if you're a city or a harbour, to be on the radar for, again, tourists, target groups, investors, etc. You need to, and have to build a brand reputation for that. But it all comes down to business. At least for Tallinn Harbour, I would imagine it comes down to business, because it's a private entity. Now, if you think about keywords like sharing economy, the Ubers, the Airbnbs, what does it mean for business? There's a case being made that there is no sharing economy, there's just the economy. We just have more means to use the economy. It's still the same thing. There's a economist in Sweden called Kjell Nordström who made the point that instead of having a homo economicus, so if you studied economy, the basics, then homo economicus is a person who is going to maximize his or her profit. That's the hardcore definition. but it's in the past, because now we have the we economy. It's all about we. Not philanthropy, it's still the economy, but we share stuff. We do it together, and the demand on the market is for stuff that's sustainable, healthy, good for the planet, etc. People want this. People want organic food. People want that we don't pollute the planet so much, etc. It translates into a demand. Meaning sustainability and corporate social responsibility, or more and more these days, creating shared value as a new version or an improved version, if you will, for corporate social responsibility. So think about the Nobel Economics Prize that just was given out. Thaler was the economist who had a theory about nudging, so pushing people to make the right decisions. The public sector can use lots of money to perhaps very little effect if they want to get people buying healthier food or riding bicycles or do something good. It doesn't have an effect. You spend a lot of money. But if you think about going to a shop, and if the company itself puts the healthier food forward, you buy more food. That's healthier. That's it. It won the economic prize, the Nobel Prize for that. That's the theory in a nutshell. So companies can do more, creating shared value, helping the society become better, more sustainable, more greener, healthier, etc. It has an economic incentive and point to do that, of course, in cooperation with the city. The point is, more and more cities are doing this, are making a huge investment to make their own cities more attractive. The harbour areas, the high streets, if you look at Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Stockholm, all of these cities, if you think about bicycles, I'm usually embarrassed to talk about bicycles because it's just bicycles. It's elementary, but it's, I would say, it's even more embarrassing not to have bicycles and to be forced to talk about them, because bicycles are an elementary thing in all of these cities today, including the cold and rainy and snowy Helsinki, Malmö, and etc. It's about accessibility. It's about thinking about a bicycle as a tool, as an indicator. Do you have a healthy, normal, safe city environment? Is it accessible to people? Because having accessibility, having people creates a sense of place, having people on a public square. And it is something more than simply bearded men like me who like to drive bicycles. It's about, if you think about Paris, for example, yes, a big city, Paris is different than Tallinn, of course. It's weird to put Tallinn and Paris into one sentence. But that picture to illustrate, and that quote from The Economist recently, talking about the war that they have in Paris. Look at that wording. Today's conflict pits contemporary urban competence, enraged car owners, and everybody else. So there's something to think about the trends that are going on in the contemporary cities out there. We don't need to look into Paris. We can just look across the bay to Finland. Think about how they, as a seaside city, are making the seaside accessible to people. Yli 130 kilometriä, hashtag. It was a campaign last year. Everybody could hold a public event on the seashore without any bureaucracy. It was fast-forwarded, the bureaucracy, so that you could really apply online to do whatever company event there on a public beach. Is something that you would need otherwise. Why? Because they're cool. Because they want to give people access to the city, because it's normal. And of course, it's a nice marketing trick to do as well. So the business case is simple. If you think about places, Tallinn Harbour, if you think about the high street, Peatänav, the project in Tallinn. More people means more revenue for companies. As simple as that. If you want to have more people and more revenue, you need to have higher accessibility, more people walking and cycling there. Why? Not because of hatred against car owners. That's a primitive way to think. It's perfectly normal to drive a car, but it's just that a car is taking away all that space from others at the same time. Now, that might be a question of taste, perhaps. That's perfectly all right. But I would then, and the point of my presentation is, I would invite you to look what is going on in other cities today. How having a public square is about accessibility. It's about having more people there, making the place come alive, which translates into direct economic benefit. The latest study I have found is from New Zealand, where they not only counted how many cars does a crossing let through during the day, what are the delays, how does it translate into economic benefits or disadvantages. They looked at this with pedestrians. So if you can drive 2 minutes faster, great. But if you stop your car or get off the bus and you need to stand for 2 minutes and still be late for work, you waste those 2 minutes. You waste the huge effort you have done as a city to make the cars or buses go faster. If you wait in a car or on foot, you don't get to work and the society loses out. Which is why, from our company point of view, us as management consultants, working with attractive places and seeing these international examples here and there from a different point of view, whether for attracting talents or business or investors or tourists, we see that initiatives like these are more up and coming. People are putting more effort, investments, time and money into building areas like this, which is wonderful, I believe. Setting aside my own personal taste, having an accessible public space is wonderful, is what we see more and more elsewhere today as well. And this initiative that has brought us here today, thanks to Tallinn Harbour, making it a public initiative, it's absolutely wonderful. And I think the bottom line would be that we here today at this point in time have all the preconditions that this could be a wonderful, accessible public space for all. Now it's, I think, all about implementation and following and completing the master plan as well. So, thank you very much. And if you have any questions about this presentation or the previous presentations,